Good evening, teachers and my seniors. Today's topic for the class is gonadoccal cyst. Gonadoccal cyst is dilatation of biliary tree involving either extrahepatic or intrahepatic bile ducts. It's present in approximately 1 in 10,000 to 13,000 live births. Two-thirds of the cysts are diagnosed before the patient is aged 10 years. Roughly around 1/4 of the cases are diagnosed prenatally. Next, coming to etiology, the etiology remains unknown, but it's commonly accepted to be congenital in nature. Distal obstruction, weakness of the duct wall, or a combination of the two are the predominant hypotheses. Gonadoccal cyst is commonly associated with penetrative biliary maljunction. Penetrative biliary maljunction is also known as long common channel theory, Babbitt's theory. In PBM, pancreatic duct and biliary duct fuse to form a common channel prior to opening in duodenal wall, through which pancreatic fluid can reflux into the biliary system and bile can flow into the pancreatic duct. An anomalous union of pancreatico-biliary duct is defined when common pancreatico-biliary channel is more than 15 mm. This is a picture which is showing the variations in the union of bile and pancreatic duct. First picture is showing short common channel. Second is showing there is no common channel as both common bile duct and pancreatic duct are opening separately in the duodenum. And third picture is showing long common channel in which bile duct and pancreatic duct are fusing to form a common channel before opening in the duodenum. Again, the picture, second picture is showing the long common channel. Next, coming to the classification of the gonadoccal cyst. The original anatomic classification of gonadoccal cyst was given by Alonso Lenz, which included type 1, 2, and 3. After reviewing the cholangiograms, Todani and colleagues have broadened the classification into 5 types with some subtypes, which are as follows. Type 1 is most frequent type, which has 3 subtypes. Type 1A is cystic dilatation of entire CBD. Type 1A is cystic dilatation of some segment, some portion of CBD, and type 1C is fusiform dilatation, which is extending to common hepatic duct. Type 2 is diverticulum of the CBD with no dilatation of common bile, extrahepatic or intrahepatic duct. Type 3 is choledococele, which usually has normal common bile duct and main pancreatic duct with cystic dilatation of distal CBD that is either intraduodenal or intrapancreatic in location. Type 4 is multiple cysts which are located either intrahepatically or extrahepatically or in both locations. Type 5 is single or multiple intrahepatic cysts without any extrahepatic duct dilatation. This is a picture which is showing 5 major gonadoccal cyst forms. As we can see, type 1A is present, which is cystic dilatation of entire CBD. Type 1B is cystic dilatation of segment of CBD, and type 1C is fusiform dilatation, which is extending to the common hepatic duct involving whole of the CBD. Type 2 is diverticulum of CBD, and there is no dilatation of CBD, extrahepatic or intrahepatic ducts. Type is choledococele, which usually has normal common hepatic and main pancreatic duct with cystic dilatation of distal CBD that is either intraduodenal or intrapancreatic in location. Type 4, as we can see, there are multiple cysts which are located intra as well as extrahepatically. And type 5 is the dilatation of intrahepatic cysts only. There are multiple cysts present in this picture and with normal extrahepatic cyst. Normal extrahepatic duct. This is 1A, as we can see, again cystic dilatation of entire portion of CBD. Type 2 is diverticulum of the CBD and all other portions of biliary tree are normal. Type 3 is intraduodenal distal CBD dilatation. Type 4A is dilatation of intrahepatic as well as extrahepatic biliary duct. Type 4B is dilatation of only the extrahepatic bile duct with normal intrahepatic bile duct. And type 5 is only the dilatation of intrahepatic bile duct with normal extrahepatic ducts. After Todanis classification, there is another classification which is based on pancreatic biliary maljunction. It is with either with pancreatic biliary malunion or without pancreatic biliary malunion. With pancreatic biliary malunion, there are three types. There is cystic dilatation of extrahepatic bile duct, fusiform dilatation of extrahepatic bile duct, or form first choledochal cyst. Without pancreatic biliary malunion, there is three types: cystic diverticulum of CBD, choledococele, which is a diverticulum of distal CBD, which is type 3 in Todanis, and intrahepatic bile duct dilatation alone, which is Caroli's disease, which is type 5 in Todanis. Manifest clinical symptom at any time during their life, with 80% of patients being symptomatic before the age of 10 years. Abdominal pain, jaundice, and palpable right upper quadrant abdominal mass is a classical triad described for patient with choledochal cyst. The triad is seen only in 20% of patient diagnosed, and two of the three symptoms are present in 2/3 of patients at the time of diagnosis. Classification varies according to the age of presentation. The infantile form, which occurred before the 12 months of age, and these patients tend to present with obstructive jaundice, ecolic stools, and hepatomegaly, similar to biliary atresia. Adult form occur anytime after 12 months of age. It usually has greater number of symptoms, including fever, nausea, vomiting, and jaundice. Signs of hepatic fibrosis may be present in infantile form, and this patient benefit most from early treatment. In the infantile form, the patient with fusiform type of choledochal cyst tend to present with transient jaundice. Perforation choledochal cyst is rare. It is in 1 to 10% of patients and is thought to occur due to fragile cystic wall from inflammation, increased ductal pressure, or increased intra-abdominal pressure. The site of rupture is at low flow region of junction of cystic and common bile duct. This patient present with abdominal pain, sepsis, and peritonitis. The adult form usually present after 12 months of age. This patient tend to have fusiform dilatation of CBD without complete obstruction of distal CBD, and this present with intermittent symptoms from a mucus plug or biliary sludge. The patient with adult form are most likely to present with classical triad of abdominal pain, jaundice, and abdominal mass, right abdominal quadrant abdominal mass, as compared to infantile form. Now, coming to complications of choledochal cyst, these are biliary obstruction, which will lead to jaundice, ascending cholangitis, pancreatitis, choledocholithiasis, biliary cirrhosis, portal hypertension, perforation, and malignancy. Prenatal diagnosis. Almost like 25% of the cases are diagnosed prenatally. While in the prenatal anatomical ultrasounds are used in the second and third trimester to diagnose them. They are reported to choledochal cysts have been reported to be detected at prenatal USG as early as 15 weeks of gestation. The typical finding on high resolution ultrasound is that of a cyst in porta hepatis. Prenatal differential diagnosis will be for the choledochal cyst will be simple hepatic cyst, biliary atresia, ovarian, omental, adrenal, renal, or mesenteric cyst, duodenal gallbladder duplications, dilated loop of bowel, hydronephrotic renal pelvis, giant cystic meconium peritonitis. Next, coming to the investigations for choledochal cyst. First, we have laboratory studies. Laboratory data reserved primarily for evaluating the clinical condition of the patient and not to diagnose. Serum markers of obstructive jaundice such as conjugated hyperbilirubinemia, increased serum alkaline phosphatase are usually present in choledochal cyst. And elevated conjugated bilirubin is typical in infantile form, but may or may not be present in adult form due to intermittent or incomplete biliary obstruction. In chronic cases, an abnormal coagulation profile may be evident due to hepatic injury. After laboratory investigation, next coming to imaging studies. First is ultrasound. And abdominal ultrasound is first imaging modality as it is universally available, non-invasive, and inexpensive. Choledochal cyst on ultrasound is commonly identified as cystic mass that is not part of gallbladder in the right upper quadrant and is usually in porta hepatis. While using the sonography, we can see the size, counter, position of the cyst, extent of intrahepatic duct dilatation, vascular anatomy, presence of pancreatic duct dilatation, hepatic or biliary tree lithiasis, splenomegaly, and status of liver. This is a picture which is showing gallbladder and choledochosis separated as gallbladder in portahepatis. Next, coming to CT scan. CT can show intrahepatic duct, distal common bile duct, and pancreatic duct. Features that are not reliably identified on ultrasound, making CT scan highly useful in identifying type 4 and type 5 cysts. This is a picture CT scan which is showing intrahepatic and extrahepatic biliary duct dilatation. Next, coming to CT cholangiography. The full anatomy of biliary tree can be delineated using CT cholangiography. The sensitivity of CT cholangiography is 93% biliary tree visualization and diagnosing lithiasis, 90% for diagnosing choledochosis, and only 65% for characterizing the pancreatic duct. The risk of using CT or CT cholangiography is contrast toxicity that can cause nephrotoxicity or hepatotoxicity and radiation exposure. MRCP. MRCP is considered the gold standard for imaging choledochosis. The diagnostic sensitivity of MRCP, magnetic resonance cholangiopancreatography, is 90 to 100%. The administration of secretin increases the pancreatic secretion and dilates the pancreatic duct. As the technology for MRCP has improved, smaller ductal structures are being visualized with finer detail. This has allowed for increased diagnosis of pancreatic biliary maljunction and pancreatic divisum, and usually give accurate information as to the location of insertion of pancreatic duct. The type and extent of choledochosis are well visualized, and images can be reconstructed in 3 dimensions. MRCP avoids radiation associated with CT scan and ERCP, and avoids the potential post-ERCP complication of cholangitis and pancreatitis. This is a MRCP picture of patient with type 1 choledochosis and accessory pancreatic duct which is entering the duodenum. This is a 3-dimension reconstruction of MRCP image of choledochosis with mild dilatation of right and left extrahepatic ducts. Pancreatic duct is seen entering the normal caliber distal CBD. Next is HIRA scan. Technetium-99 HIRA scan. The photopenia is initially evident at the cyst, followed by filling and delayed empty. HIRA scan has a varying sensitivity, 100% for the type 1 cyst and 67% for type 4. There is decreased sensitivity for intrahepatic cyst. Biliary tree is characterized by the lack of contrast emptying in the duodenum, whereas in the choledochosis there will be contrast which will be entering the duodenum. HIRA scan is also useful in diagnosing cystic rupture, in which case contrast will be emptying into the peritoneal cavity. Next, coming to invasive imaging studies, which include ERCP, endoscopic retrograde cholangiopancreatography, PTC, percutaneous transhepatic cholangiography, and intraoperative cholangiogram. This delineate the anatomy and locate the abnormalities such as pancreatic biliary malunion and filling defects caused by stones, stenosis, and carcinoma. Risk of cholangitis and pancreatitis are higher than in general population, with reported incidence of 67% due to frequency of pancreatic biliary malunion, dilated ducts, and dysfunctional sphincters in patients with choledochosis. Choledochosis type 3 cyst can be diagnosed with various imaging modalities such as upper GI scopy, endoscopy, MRCP, ERCP, and CT cholangiography. On upper GI scopy for choledochosis, there will be a filling defect noted at the level of cyst entering the duodenum. The papilla will have smooth bulging on endoscopy and ERCP. The advantage of ERCP over MRCP and CT cholangiography for choledochosis is the ability to perform a therapeutic procedure such as sphincterotomy at the time of diagnosis. Endoscopic ultrasound is also well suited to diagnose the choledochosis because this modality can reach close to the cyst for appropriate visualization. The best imaging modality for Carroll disease, that is type 5 cyst, means only the intrahepatic cystic dilatation with normal extrahepatic cyst and normal extrahepatic biliary tree are ultrasound, CT, and MRI. The central dot sign has been described for Carroll's disease, but it's not pathognomic. On HIRA scan, a beaded appearance due to intraductal bridging may be indicative of Carroll's disease. Next, coming to the management, preoperative optimization. Because of hepatic injury, we should first correct any bleeding tendency with either parenteral vitamin K or FFP. Also, any biliary infection should be controlled first before undertaking any major surgery. Next, coming to timing of surgery, progressive intrahepatic ductal dilatation, cyst dilatation, deterioration of liver function are the indications of obstruction or cholangitis, in which we have to intervene early by doing early surgery. Even in asymptomatic prenatally diagnosed neonates, to prevent complication, particularly liver fibrosis, surgery is performed early. There are two approaches, open or laparoscopic approach. In case of bile peritonitis following perforation, severe cholangitis, poor general condition or huge dilated CBD neonates, external biliary drainage is recommended by either percutaneous transhepatic drainage or direct percutaneous cyst drainage. Subsequently, delayed primary excision may be carried out after 3 to 6 months. The treatment of choice for choledochal cyst is complete excision of the cyst with construction of biliary enteric anastomosis to restore the continuity with GIT. Partial resection of cyst and internal drainage procedure expose the patient to increased risk of cholangitis, pancreatitis, and cholangiocarcinoma. The management of type 1 and type 4 choledochal cyst have evolved from either internal or external drainage to cyst excision and hepaticoduodenostomy to Roux-en-Y. Cyst resection with hepaticoduodenostomy. This is a picture which is showing the surgical management of choledochal cyst and the type of anastomosis that can be created. First picture is showing the anastomosis between the cyst and the duodenum, cyst duodenostomy. Second one is showing the complete excision of the cyst and hepaticoduodenostomy. And third picture is showing Roux-en-Y cyst duodenostomy. Delayed diagnosis leads to inflammation of the cyst and adherence to the periportal structure, particularly the portal vein. In such patients, such as these, for whom excision of full thickness of cyst may be unacceptably high complication rate, Lilly's technique can be performed. The cyst can be incised anteriorly away from the hepatic artery and portal vein, allowing the inner epithelial lining of the entire choledochal cyst to be excised, while avoiding the difficult and potential dangerous plane of dissection between outer cyst wall and portal vein. This removes the potential premature aspects of cyst while minimizing the potential operative complications. This is a picture which is showing the Lilly's technique. Type 2 choledochal cysts are rare, but they appear to have a low malignant potential. This type 2 includes the type 2 choledochal cyst include the diverticulum of CPD with no dilatation of common bile, extrahepatic or intrahepatic duct. This type requires simple cyst resection and easily amenable to laparoscopic approach because complicated dissection and reconstructions are not required. CBD should be closed transversely to avoid the strictures. Type 3 choledochal cyst or choledochoceles are intraduodenal or intrapancreatic dilatation of distal CBD, operative marsupialization of the cyst, unroofing of the choledococele to drain the bile duct and pancreatic duct directly into the duodenum, used through an transduodenal approach. They can be treated by sphincterotomy or cyst marsupialization. Most surgeons recommend cyst resection to the hepatic ducts, leaving in place the dilated intrahepatic duct because they may decrease in size without distal obstruction. Careful long-term follow-up is required to monitor the relative size of the intrahepatic duct and for the possibility of symptomatic lithosis and cholangitis. If intrahepatic cysts are localized into one lobe, hepatic lobectomy is preferred approach. For diffuse intrahepatic disease, liver transplantation should be considered. Surgical treatment of type 5 choledochal cyst disease is challenging. Segmental resection can be performed if disease is localized to a portion of the liver. Liver transplantation has also been performed. In the absence of cirrhosis or malignancy, Roux-en-Y hepaticoduodenostomy with bilateral transhepatic celastic stents may be indicated to improve biliary drainage. Stents are left for 6 to 12 months. This is a type 1 in which there is cystic dilatation of CBD, entire CBD. The choledochal cyst is excised, and there is there are three options you can do: Roux-en-Y hepaticoduodenostomy, or hepaticoduodenostomy, or Roux-en-Y choledochocystoduodenostomy. Also, choledocho cystoduodenostomy can be done. And the type second, which are diverticulum of the CBD with entire rest of the biliary tree normal, we can do the excision of the cyst. Type 3 is choledococele. Usually this is intraduodenal or intrapancreatic. So transduodenal excision can be done. Transduodenal sphincteroplasty can be done, and endoscopic sphincterotomy while doing an ERCP can be done. Type 4A is dilatation of intrahepatic and extrahepatic dilatation of of the biliary tree. For the extrahepatic component of type 4A, the excision of the cyst and Roux-en-Y hepaticojejunostomy can be performed. The other option is excision of the cyst with hepaticoduodenostomy can be done. For the intrahepatic component, if the disease is localized in one lobe of the liver, then that lobectomy or hepatic resection can be done with Roux-en-Y hepaticojejunostomy, or transhepatic intubation can be done using the stents. For type 4B, that is only involving the extrahepatic biliary tree, the excision of the cyst and Roux-en-Y hepaticojejunostomy or hepaticoduodenostomy can be done. Transduodenal sphincterotomy may or may not be done if required. For type 5 Caloris disease with entire dilatation of intrahepatic biliary tree, hepatic resection is considered. If the liver is not cirrhotic, then Roux-en-Y intrahepatic cholangiojejunostomy can be done. Transhepatic intubation using the stents can be done. Or if the liver is cirrhosed, then we can do orthotopic liver transplantation. Next, coming to cyst excision. In newborn and young infant, choledochal cyst is usually cystic type. Complete cyst excision, full thickness of the cyst is much easier in younger infants because the wall of dilated CBD is generally thin and there are few adhesions to the surrounding vital structures such as portal vein. The aspiration of cyst prior to dissection makes the surgery easier if the cyst is large and dense. The cyst should be opened at the mid portion close to the duodenum because there is often an anomalous opening of the hepatic duct, that is separate opening or opening to the distal part of the cyst. Cyst is then transected mid portion after careful circumferential dissection from the hepatic artery and portal vein. Subsequently, dissection of the distal portion is carried out. It is important that the cyst is completely excised at the level of caliber change in order to avoid malignant changes in the remaining cyst epithelium. If there is no distinct caliber change, that is fusiform type, then excision should be carried out just above the choledochopancreatic junction. The stump should be doubly suture ligated and transect. This is the picture which is showing the intraoperative endoscopy showing the distal bile duct distal to the cyst with debris and protein plugs. After identification of orifice of pancreatic duct, the cyst is excised correctly at the level of marked by level 2. If we excise the cyst at the level at the marking at the 1, then there is likelihood of leaving the residual cyst and chances for malignant changes in the future. And if we excise the cyst at the marking of level 3, then there is likelihood of injuring the pancreatic duct. Finally, the common hepatic duct is transected at the level of distinct caliber change. Since the proximal cyst mucosa is prone to malignant changes, it must not be left for large anastomosis. Next, coming to biliary reconstruction. First is Roux-en-Y hepaticojejunostomy. In this, jejunum is divided 15 to 30 centimeter distal to the GJ, and then anastomosis to the distal divided end is performed to the biliary tract. The anastomosis of proximal end is done to the side of the jejunum at the distance of 30 to 40 centimeter below the anastomosis. The conducting is opened at the antemesenteric border. End to side anastomosis of hepatic duct is to Roux-en-Y limb in retrocolic flexion is done. The disadvantage of Roux-en-Y hepaticojejunostomy is biliary stasis in the blind pouch, which can cause stone formation in the pouch or dilatation of intrahepatic bile ducts. The end-to-end anastomosis of jejunum to upper end of remnant is recommended if ratio of CBD and proximal limb of jejunum diameter is less than 1:2.5. The advantage of this is drainage is smoother and more direct with less possibility of bile stasis. There's a picture showing Roux-en-Y limb. Next technique of of biliary reconstruction is hepaticoduodenostomy. It is argued to be more physiological and technologically easier. It is simple to perform, have fewer complication rates such as anastomotic leakage, post-operative adhesive bowel obstruction, and peptic ulcer. The contraindication of hepaticoduodenostomy is intrahepatic biliary duct dilatation, or when the diameter of common hepatic duct is more than 10 mm. Duodenal content are likely to reflux easily into intrahepatic duct, remain longer, and cause damage to bile duct mucosa, and cholangitis or anastomotic stricture formation may occur. Next biliary reconstruction technique is jejunal interposition. In this 30 centimeter isolated conduct of proximal jejunal is interposition between the confluence of hepatic duct and second portion of duodenum. Single jejunal segment from the first or second jejunal loop are isolated. The segment are in isoperistaltically or reversed segment of jejunum to prevent reflux placed in retrocolic position. This technique is not universally accepted. Appendix interposition. The cecum and ascending colon up to the hepatic flexure were mobilized so that appendix could lie next to the duodenum. The wider cecal end of the appendix was anastomosed to the common hepatic duct in an end-to-end manner using single-layer 5-0 Weichel suture. Appendix was then anastomosed to the posterior aspect of second part of duodenum in an end-to-side fashion using 5-0 Weichel suture. After open approach, this is the laparoscopic approach, and the principles are similar as open surgery. Either Roux-en-Y reconstruction or hepaticoduodenostomy is done for biliary continuance. In laparoscopic approach, there are lower complications. The long-term outcome is still not well reported. There are 4 ports. 5 mm port is placed through umbilicus for the camera. 3 mm port is placed in right abdomen between the mid-axillary and mid-clavicular line, just inferior to the level of umbilicus. 5 mm port is placed in left mid-clavicular line, just superior to the level of umbilicus for the right-handed working port for the primary surgeon. A 4th port is located in the left anterior axillary line, just below the costal margin. It is used as assistant to retract the gallbladder and the liver superiorly. Now coming to post-op complication for the surgery of choledochal cyst, Roux-en-Y hepaticoduodenostomy, there is 15-30% of morbidity, mainly due to wound infection, intra-abdominal sepsis, cholangitis, anastomotic leakage, which in most cases are managed conservatively. Other complications include ileus, GI bleeding, and bowel perforation. Incidence of anastomotic leak is reduced by wide caliber hepaticoduodenostomy and to the normal bile duct using a meticulous surgical technique. Intestinal obstruction due to adhesions and interhernia of small bowel can also occur post-operatively. Most of anastomotic strictures are related to the severity of mucosal denudation of common hepatic duct, intramural fibrosis, ischemia, or prolonged inflammation secondary to bile stasis in intrahepatic biliary tree. Thank you.
Tushar, good presentation and keep it up.
Thank you.
Anybody wants to ask questions?
I would just like to add, there are two more types of choledochal cysts. There is something which is mentioned as type 4B, which includes the dilatation of the cystic duct as well, and as well as a type 1D, and also isolated dilatation of the cystic duct is also reported, which is type 6. And choledococele is of 2 types. The commoner type is that both the ducts enter separately into the dilatation, and there's another type in which the CVD dilates and the pancreatic duct enters into the CVD and then into the diverticle, into the choledochal.
Thank you.
Tushar, Dr. Rahul has asked a question.
Cesar Roux.
Who was Cesar Roux? He was the greatest surgeon of last century. He was a Swiss surgeon.
Yes.
He was a student of German surgeons, Theodor and other surgeons. He learned in many procedures from these German surgeons. and he was also one of the pioneers in pheochromocytome. And he devised the RULIM, and it was his innovation that after his innovation, this RULIM is known as limb, this Y limb, the jejunal limb, which is anastomose to either esophagus or to the stomach or to the common hepatic duct. So the GI anastomose RULIM. So the credit goes to Caesar Rue innovation.